Should I go for it? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha, Gurur Sakshat Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Vasudev Sutam Devam Kamsachanurmardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Okay. So, Radhe Radhe everyone. Shri Ramya ji will be starting shortly. And today we are going to be discussing Bhagavad Gita Shlok 6.15. We have been so far talking about meditation, how Krishna has advised us to practice meditation. And now we are going to discuss, I think, the object of meditation. Shri Ramya ji, are you ready?
Yeah, I'm just logging in through my other device. Please give me one moment, please.
No problem. If you want, shall I like quickly do the Bhakt Charit thing?
Yes, sure thing.
Okay. So let me just quickly ask a question from all those who have joined. How many of you have heard of Karmeti Bai or Karma Bai or Karma Bai ki Khichdi? Just raise your hand if you have heard of any of this. Okay, Pratusha is saying not me. Nitin ji or anyone else, have you heard of Karma Bai or Karma Bai ki Khichdi or Karmeti Bai?
No, you can talk about her. Tell us more.
Okay, Dhruvil is saying I have heard the name, but I do not know the story. So I was listening to Premanandji's satsang, and there one of his satsang episode he was talking about Karmiti Bai, and we all find Mirabai very inspirational, and her story was also super inspirational. She is a devotee of Krishna. Karma Bai ki Khichdi is actually very popular in Jagannath temple, and so either I can tell about it right now, or we can just quickly watch one video first, and then I can go about telling this more later. So I think you can see this video, right? I mean, I hope the sound comes through.
जो कर्मा बाई थी, सुबह सुबह 3-3:30 बजे खिचड़ी चढ़ा देती, बिना नहाए धोए, बिना कुल्ला किए। उन्होंने विचार किया कि शाम तक शयन भोग तक तो लोग भोग लगाते हैं, ठाकुर जी रात में सोते होंगे, तो अब इतनी लेट तक उनको भूख नहीं लग जाती होगी। कहा हम जल्दी भोग लगाएंगे। 3-3:30 बजे खिचड़ी उबाल करके बुलाते, ठाकुर जी आने लगे, पाने लगे। अब एक दिन 7-8 बजे स्नान करने जा रही थी, तो एक नियम संयम वाले महात्मा मिले। कर्मा भाई, आप स्नान करने जा रहे हो तुम भक्त होकर के? तो उनका महाराज, वो सुबह से खिचड़ी बनाते ना, ठाकुर जी इतना बड़ा पाप कर रहे हो, अपराध कर रहे हो, बिना नहाए धोए ठाकुर को भोग लगाते हो, उनको, ये तो बड़ा अपराध है। और उनकी संतों पे श्रद्धा थी। अच्छा, तो अब वो सुबह शुरू हो गई स्नान और सब करते हुए, फिर भोग बनाया, बुलाया, ठाकुर जी आए, एक कवल लिपाए, तले मंदिर का पट खुला तो भागे जगन्नाथ। वहां खिचड़ी मुख में लगी थी वैसे, तो वहां सेवकों ने कहा जय जय, अभी तो भोग भी नहीं बन रहा है, आप कहाँ से खिचड़ी लगाए? अरे बोले महात्मा है ना, बड़ी पंडिताई छाट दिया कर्मा बाई से, अब वो हमें प्यार से तड़के पवाती थी, अब उनका भोग लेट विलंब से लगा, इसीलिए ऐसा। तो हाँ, उनका आदेश कर दो जाके कर्माबाई को कि तुम जैसे बनाती थी वैसे ही बनाओ। ये सब सिद्धांत दूसरों के लिए, प्रेमियों के लिए नहीं, भगवान ने स्वयं कहा।
All right. So this was one incident about Karmabai, who was really a true devotee of Krishna, and for her, only thing that mattered was uh, Krishna's happiness. None of the rituals come above love. So she was purely operating from that perspective. And then I have a background regarding how she became that ardent devotee. So in case Shri Ramya ji is still not ready, I can go through it. Otherwise, we can cover it at the end if we get time. Shri Ramya ji? Okay.
Okay, Radhe. I'm ready, but the story seems interesting now. Should I go with the story or Gita first?
No. So we should actually go with our as planned Bhagavad Gita discussion. And now I think everybody might, if people are curious, then let that curiosity build up and then we will further discuss later on.
Okay. Thank you so much. So I'll start sharing my screen. Please let me know once this is visible. A screen share quickly. Share. Is my screen visible?
Yes, you just need to make it full screen.
Okay. Uh, One second. 1 second, please.
I think the bottom right has that full screen option.
Present option, you can try that also.
The right, the downmost part, right? Not in the
Present
screen.
full
Don't.
screen, it's yeah. This is good.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you all. So Bhagavad Gita, chapter 6, verse 15. Before we come here, as usual, a quick recap of what we discussed so far, beginning from chapter 6. So 1 and 2, Lord Krishna says the yogi does not fixate on the results, that is the fruits of action. And he says there is no difference between the one who takes the sannyas because it's already renounced the fruits of action, or the one who's on the path of karma yoga, because ultimately he also renounces the fruits of action. And also he says that if you're a beginner, you practice your karma yoga first. And if you have already perfected your karma yoga, then dhyan is the means for you. And how do you make out that you're a perfected karma yoga? You know that you're not the doer, you're not attached to the sense objects, and you're not attached to the actions as well. And the next slokas, he talks about some help. You need help for perfecting karma yoga, and he says use your mind. And he says how your mind can be your friend and how your mind can be your enemy. And someone may think, yes, maybe I've already controlled my mind. My mind is always behaving like my friend. I listen to my mind. But how do you know that your mind is behaving like your friend and not your enemy? Look for these qualities. You have raised about dualities. You're steadfast with devotions. You're undisturbed in all circumstances. And you're unbiased. You're neutral. If these are your qualities, then yes, you have controlled your mind. You have conquered your mind. Otherwise, Krishna suggests some tips on meditating, starting from 6.10 to 6.13. He has introduced meditation and he has told how to meditate. He has told where to meditate. He has given instructions on the posture, on stating, and on the state of mind, how you need to be single pointed. And we have also discussed that how the meditation is essential even in the path of Karma Yoga, how the meditation can make Karma Yoga even better, and how Karma Yoga can make the meditation better. So the interdependencies and the intricacies, all these things we have discussed so far and so forth. So the last week we discussed Shloka 6.14, and because a lot of you are on vacation, we will have a good recap of 6.14 and we will continue with 6.15 as well. So a quick hand for 6.14 if anybody wants to repeat this shloka. Yes, Sandaji, please go ahead.
प्रशांत आत्मा विगत भीर ब्रह्मचारी व्रते स्थितः मनः संयम्य मच्चित्तो युक्त आसीत् मत्परः.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sandhya ji. So we discussed this last week. A recap, but not as much as in detail. A quick recap. The one whose personality is calm, fearless, and established in the vow of renunciation, with a restrained mind, the seeker should sit with his mind focused on me, regarding me as supreme. So what does this mean? Uh, The first one, he says, Machito, he says, meditate upon me. And Mat Paraha, regard me as the highest goal, as the highest goal to be obtained. So God is telling, meditate upon me. And he has also told us earlier, with Shloka 6.10, he says, Yoga Yunjita Satat Atmanam. And he says that yogi should constantly engage in his self. And here he gives more meaning to the self. The self, he says, me. You have to meditate on me, and you have to regard me as the highest goal to be obtained. And why should we do this? That's because uh, having a form of God that we really love, it makes our meditation easy. It gets easier to get a focus on the form of Ishvara, uh, in which we find delight. And for those, the introduction to the concept of self or the Atman, it might be very difficult to have yourself centered and meditate. And this is the reason we usually the bhaktas, Dhruv Dhyan is the most favorite among bhaktas. So it's the form of God on which you meditate on. And why does God say that meditate upon me? Is God an attention seeking God, or why is he saying, is it for himself or is it for us? So we have discussed this as well. And there is this shloka in Bhagavad Gita. विषयाविनिवर्तन्ते निराहारस्य देहिनः रसवर्जं रसोऽप्यस्य परं दृष्ट्वा निवर्तते. And we have discussed this innumerable times with the daily wisdom from Bhagavad Gita class as well. Only when we have a higher taste of something, we give up on the lower taste of something. Like when a kid grows up, once he starts playing with the soccer or with the video game, he would give up on the toys. And when he's even more matured, he would give up on those video games as well. So uh, usually when you have a superior taste, you give up on the ones. And the superior taste, the utmost taste is the Lord's sweetness. And only when we get that taste, we would give up on the sense objects. So that is when our meditation gets easier. Otherwise, if we are always thinking of food or something, we would think about food even during our meditation. So Krishna says that meditate upon me. And another discussion, good discussion which we had from all of you, is that God is beyond the three natures, and He's the purest, He's the all pure. And wherever we attach our mind, that is the qualities we acquire. So when we attach our mind to God and we attain, it helps us take our mind beyond the three modes of material nature. So God is telling, meditate on me, not that because He seeks our attention, because it's for our own good. When God says something, I believe that it's for us, it's for our own good. And uh, the next shloka we saw what are the prerequisites of the meditator. He has to be calm. He has to be quiet. He has to get his mind calm. But make an attempt to get your mind calm. That is essential for meditation. But when you practice meditation better, that will automatically make your mind even more calmer. So this concept reinforces itself again. And fearless. So we have discussed the fear that we would have is losing our identity, or even the fear of death, or whatever fears they have. They are a hindrance to meditation. So meditation, it takes us beyond our identity. So we need to be fearless. And again, meditation, being a better meditator, it will help enforce the fearlessness. Another aspect that we discussed is brahmachari vrate. It essentially the word brahmacharya essentially means that you are a celibate. But as per this shloka, and as per one author, there were many authors which I referred specifically for this. So a lot of authors have said about the perspective of the energies that is preserved in you as a celibate, which would help you to take you forward in your spiritual journey. But there was also one conversation which said that here it means that you have done with all your roles, like you're not a mother, father, son, brother, or anything. It's just the role of a seeker. So it means that you've cast off all the rules and you don the role of a seeker when you sit for meditation, and you do not have any other pursuits in your mind, like your mind is pure. So that is the perspective this shloka speaks about. So we have discussed all the perspectives from all the books, and I think we had a good discussion last week. If required, we could further discuss this week, but we'll open for discussions at the end. So having finished with 6.14, today we have a very interesting shloka, which is an extension of 6.14, 6.15. Any hands for 6.15? Pratisha ji, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe. युञ्जनैव सदात्मानं योगी नियतमानसः शान्तिं निर्वाणपरमां मद्धिगच्छति.
Thank you, Pratisha ji. In this manner, the yogi who has subdued his mind, who always engages his self in me, attains ultimate liberation, bearing peace established in me. What is Krishna trying to say next after asking us to meditate upon him? So he speaks about the results of meditation. What do we get by meditating? And I still remember Nitinji's joke, WII is not World War II, it's what's in it for me. So meditation, you might always be thinking, what's in it for me, or what are the benefits? What am I going to get by doing all of this? Sitting down for 20 minutes, casting away all my thoughts, turning away all my rules, being a seeker. Like what do I get? What's in it for me? So the meditation, if it's followed as the technique as prescribed here, as prescribed by Krishna, it brings us it brings us the ultimate peace. If you go to this shloka, Nirvana Paramam, Paramam means ultimate, and Nirvana is the liberation or something, and Shantim is the peace. It is that peace which brings you the liberation. It's the ultimate peace, rather. And this journey, it's not something which can just happen, but it depends on your sanskar again. If you never know in your previous life, if you would have been there, then it might appear it is quick. Otherwise, if you're absolutely new, then it might take a time. But have patience, and good things take time. Great things take time to come, and never give up. This was one message which I really liked. And but again, there are intermediate results when you go along this way. And what are the intermediate results when we just start to meditate? We will see that we start dropping our attachments. We get less attached to the material things. And the fascination for material objects reduces. And the peace increases. So these are some symptoms which we see as we increase our meditation. But again, a statement of caution here, because the kind of peace that you sense when you're meditating, this is not the ultimate peace. It's quite possible that we mistaken this to be enlightenment or this to be the final state. But uh, uh, I mean, I'm not the one who has experienced the final state, so I may not be able to speak best about it. I would again rely on inputs from you all. But it is said that it is the peace gained by meditating upon the self as in, the Paramatma or Krishna himself, which leads to liberation. Initially, the sense of peace is only present while meditating, but it slowly remains with the seeker for a longer periods of time. But till the final stage is reached, the person may falter in his journey. So once the final stage is reached, he will never return back. So this is a statement of caution. When you're meditating, you might feel that yes, you are there, but it's for you to evaluate your journey and to see whether you have experienced the self, you have experienced God. I will definitely open up for discussions. I know this statement has got a lot of questions. I can see that on many faces, uh, but I'll have another slide to discuss. And so, what is the source of the peace? So, Sri Krishna has said it earlier, and he has stated it multiple places in Bhagavad Gita. He says that it is He who is the source of this peace. And that is the reason why Krishna is saying, meditate upon me, because he knows that meditating upon him gives us that ultimate peace, that ultimate goal for us. Only the eternal essence can give us everlasting peace and happiness, the everlasting bliss. Everything else gives temporary peace. Therefore, Sri Krishna urges the seeker to comprehend this fact and stop going after objects in the material world for happiness and peace. This is a pretty simple shloka. In fact, it is an extension of 6.14, which we went. And I know that this calls for a good discussions, but this is a short and simple one, and I've completed with a 6.15. I would open it up for discussions and the Bhakt Charit as well. And next class, what are we going to do? We are going to discuss about Sayama or restraint, or how do we bring about the balance, or what meditation results in. And Sayama is also given as a prerequisite to meditation in Sloka 6.14. So we would be discussing that soon. So now I would open it up for discussions. Thanks, Nitinji.
Good, thank you, Shiraman. So, yeah, I just wanted to, try to understand it through an analogy which I came across. So let's say there is a big sea and there is a ship on that sea where a crow is sitting. Now, crow decides to take a flight and it wanders around in the entire sea. Where will it finally come back? What will happen to the crow? Let's say it's a vast sea. I mean, let's think through the scenario. Visualize a big ship, a big sea, and a crow. And crow is taking a flight in the ocean. Where will the crow finally come back? Let's have a discussion. I mean, it may be a weird analogy, but let's visualize it and think about it. Yeah, somebody can answer. I mean,
I think it should come back to the ship only, because if it like starts going exploring the sea, it is so vast it can just get lost. So having that reference where it can come back, ideally it should come back there.
right. It will come back to the ship, right? It has an anchor there. So the vast sea is this world, infinite world that you can think about anything to any depths, and you can continue on that journey forever, right? Sometimes we do overthinking. We think about scenario and then scenario and scenario. There's no end to that. And that crow is the mind. And that ship, if you want, you can give it an anchor of God's name or God's form. That is your meditation. So if we fail in meditation, that is like crow taking a flight. But finally, if you have given it an anchor, it will always come back to that ship. You have to give it an anchor. If you don't give it an anchor, it will be aimless wandering around and it will tire itself. Then you'll have to wait to sleep. Some people can't even sleep, they have to pop in a pill. So once you give it an anchor, then it has no choice but to come back. And that is the beauty of meditation. Now, if that ship is God Himself, God is the best laundryman you can ever get, right? Laundryman, one who washes things for you. And the beauty of this laundryman is it washes the things, make it shine, and then steals it. And he's the best thief as well, right? So if you make that ship God, give it that anchor, so it will not only wash it, the mind that you are putting in, but also steal it. So that is the benefit of meditating on God, right? So God is saying, give me that anchor. And God is something. Now you say, I don't want to meditate on God. I want to meditate on something else. Now think of it technically. Our mind is material. I think we have learned that, right? It is material. And whatever we can think of, right, other than God is also material. So Jad and Jad cannot create Chetan. So you need to give your Jad mind something Chetan. Haven't seen God, but when start simulating that, that itself will give you the effect. That is again God's mercy, where God says, you haven't seen me, but if you are putting an effort to visualize me or think about me, I will still give you the same credit. And that is another advantage of being in Kali Yuga, where the pap that you do, the bad chintan that you do, has no results. But any punya that you do in your mind has results. Okay, that is the beauty of Kali Yuga. So any good thought that you put in, you plant a thought in your head, God notes it down. He said, all right, I'll give you credit for that. Mansi Bhakti, that is why there's a lot of focus on it. And bad things, unless you have converted it into an act, they don't carry any result. Okay, contrary to what some may tell you, but I've been listening to Premananji very carefully, and he said, in fact, he quotes it from Bhagavatam, where he says the manas thing does not give you any bad results unless you convert it into kriya. But the good thing is, if you do punya through your mind, a good deed, you get credit for that as well. And if you can think about God, make it the object of your meditation, you are getting full credit for that. It's as good as simulate, thinking or being with God. So that's the advantage of it. So let God be our laundryman, and let it make the ship that our crow mind or monkey mind can come back to, and give it like an anchor. So I think just wanted to call that out.
This
That was a very nice example. Thank you so much, Nitinji.
Yeah, Nitinji, this was new. So what about that story of the two brothers that we have heard? Like
They
one
were
of
probably not in Kalyug. Okay. It is to drive home the point. See, the aspirational state is not even to have bad chintan, because bad chintan, although may not give you the results, but it is still leaving an imprint on your sanskars. It's not like I'll get away with it. You still have to refrain from it. But God has done us a mercy by saying, I'll send you shortly. Give me some time. I'll give you the exact quotation which says that. Okay. But the point is, we should still refrain from negative chintan, because
Yes.
it will leave its impact, even though it may not translate to karma, but your sanskars. And then if you repeat in different yuga, sanskars are still there. It becomes, then you are taking on the path.
And impurity definitely will increase, right? With such chintan. Like we will dirty our
True. You're
antakaran more.
dirting it as well, right? And you are creating more work for the laundryman. So
Exactly. And I had one more question. Like this is a very basic fundamental question, but while you were describing the power of meditation, that's when I thought of it. First of all, I love that example, ship example, but um that so there is one thing is nam jap and the other thing is samadhi or meditation, I would say, right? So like if somebody is practicing nirantar nam jap, what is it that meditation will add to that practice?
meditation will add to that practice. See, it's like this. And again, it's my understanding. Feel free to chime in. My understanding between these two is, one is the Nam Jap that you are doing, right?
Hmm.
You are doing other things also. It is, our mind is always running on two tracks. One, what you are doing, and one, your inner mechanic. Something might be, you might be thinking something and doing something else, right? So one is that Nam Jap. But this meditation is where you are actually focusing on the name or the form and the thing. It is more intense and focused at that point. So it's like, see, one is you are watching a movie and you are having halwa. You will get taste of it, but now you are just focusing on halwa and relishing it to the utmost, the in its full glory. That is what meditation would be. So you are focusing even in there, but then your that meditation will be much more intense and focused, where you don't have anything else. It's ekantic meditation at that point. So meditation is, you have blocked out everything else. Nam jap you can do even with other things, right? You're working and still doing the nam jap. But this is like only name and form at that moment, nothing else. You have blocked out everything else.
Also, like, will it be like if one does meditation in a consistent manner, then that will also enhance the nirantarta of Nam Jap by increasing the attachment with the name and the form.
I don't
And
know. I mean, somebody can talk about it. See, meditation is basically one aspect of meditation is training your mind to hold on to a thought for an extended period of time.
hmm, right.
Why we struggle to meditate? Because our mind does not, it has a novelty bias. It gets bored very quickly, right? So it wants to flit from one thing to another, to another, to another quickly. So part of meditation is, yes, you can increase the power of your focus, where you can hold on to a thought for an extended period of time. So if you have developed that muscle, sure, it will assist in that practice, right? But at the end of the day, in order to relish something, you have to focus on that, right? Right? If you are doing Radha Radha or Sita Ram, something, you have to focus on that name or the form or the Leela, whatever you are, or the Kirtan that you are trying to do Rup Dhyan with, or simply the name, even the alphabets for that matter. That would be related to God, right? But other practice, if you are just, so I would say kill two birds with one stone. When you're trying to enhance your practice of holding on to a thought, why not God's name? Why do you want to first do breathing and then get to God's name, right? I mean, it depends. My personal choice would be, I would benefit, I would take advantage of thinking of God's name even by trying to enhance my focus from 3 minutes to 5 minutes to 10 minutes to 15 to 20 to 45 and 1 hour and 2.5 hours. So
But can it also not depend upon the initial state of a person? Like, say somebody is like full of anxiety. Maybe for them to reach to the state of doing Nam Jap, they require this breathing practice first.
agreed. The flip side of that is even the state of just being able to focus and emptying your mind is so blissful, right? When people dance, why do they feel good? They feel good because they have quietened their mind. They are able to focus on only to the beats, right? One thought beats, that's it. Or when people sleep, why do they feel big? They feel rejuvenated because all the vasanas of the world, all the prapanch of the world, all the thoughts of the world have quietened when they're sleeping. They feel good. So the flip side of that is if they have not brought in God into the mix, of course, eventually they have to, they may get attached to the sattvic sukh that, this breathing techniques or this focus or emptying of mind is giving them. And then that bliss itself is so good, you don't want to get. So why bring God into the mix? They'll say, I'm feeling good and calm and relaxed. So if you see sattvic sukh is the most difficult one to overcome. So sattvic is supposed to be like a thorn which you use to take on the other two thorns of tamasic and rajasic. But after that, this thorn also has to be thrown away to go gunatit. And anything that we, yeah, so that's the only flip side I can think of. But yeah, I mean, it really depends on an individual. If it works for them, great. But eventually you have to get to God, right? Especially if you want to become gunatit. Otherwise, we'll play in sattvic more.
Yeah, I've when I was reading this also, I specifically put the word of caution because of that. Because whatever sattvic sukh you feel, it is just a temporary peace and happiness. That's why I put that caution, saying that it's up to you to evaluate if it is the peace you're feeling with the connect from God. I felt that when I was reading. I completely agree. Thank you, Nitinji.
But yeah, it's good actually. If we have done breathing practices, we just know the power of focus and emptying our mind, we can dovetail it towards God, right? That could be one of the strategies too. But if you're already bought into the concept of God, why not bring God into the mix? But if somebody is not brought into it, if they're able to dovetail it, I think that might help. So it's easy for people who have done these meditation practices in the past to be able to sit for long, right? So just to increase your stamina in meditation, it will help. Right now, it's very difficult to focus your mind to the same thought or thought of God or name, even for 3 minutes, right? I try to time my meditation, but I know the quality time is probably, half or maybe 60 or 70% of what I actually sat for. So it's difficult for sure. Yeah. Madhuji wants to say.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe, everybody. Actually, in my case, I had learned meditation since childhood because my parents would put me in yoga classes and all that. And so when I started really adopting it 8 years back as a regular in my life, then it was not so difficult for me to sit and do the meditation. In fact, I had started increasing and improving, and I don't know, many feelings would come and then I would get scared, leave it for some time, and then so many things happened. But when I started learning about this chanting, actually it made it easier for me, I would say. So I found it easier to do the chanting, and as much I could, and like sometimes I would also do it along with other things. So uh, for me, like that heaviness of meditation, I mean, I would feel so many things during meditation because I was a learner probably, uh, that those things went away actually. I feel good in both. But now I became so dependent on chanting that I lessened my meditation. And now another problem has started. I'm loving chanting so much. I feel okay, meditation, like it's okay. I'll do only for a short time. It's fine. So that's another thing that I'm facing now. But I think I'll work it out somewhere.
It's a good problem to have, I would say, in that sense, right? I mean, it's a good problem to have. You are getting addicted to chanting. See, God's name, they say God has put all of his powers in his name, and it's a huge blessing from God. And God is whose God? We say God is happiness. That means God is one who what makes happiness happy, and God gives happiness, right? So God is the reason behind happiness being happy. So if you take God's name with a lot of faith and intensity, of course it will give you the impact, right? You start relishing it and you just don't want to leave it. That is why they say, right, even if God tells you to stop taking his name, you don't want to get rid of it. That is how much blissful you start feeling. So it's a good problem to have, I would say, in that sense.
Actually, when I came as started attending your classes and other classes, satsang, I learned that like if I'm doing meditation and I'm trying to, accept the thoughts and ward them off and all those processes, then I thought this process will go on, and maybe I will not be able to learn as much. Like I may not be a fast learner as many people are. And then when I die, like I'll be thinking about my child, I'll be thinking about my feelings, how I was hurt by somebody, and then that will take me to the next birth. So being afraid of that only, I started adopting chanting in a big way. Ki at least if it is a muscle memory, then at least when I die, if not meditate, I will just think, chant something about God, think about some form of God and die. Then maybe I'll be released of this cycle. Like totally selfish, but I
No,
think
it's a good
okay.
thing. I try to chant when I'm driving because I know my probability of dying on a road, right? It's probably high. It can happen to anybody anytime. So I try to chant as much as possible during driving because it'll be a good thing at least if you do that, right? See, whenever we are chanting, it's a very good insurance policy for us to die at that point. Right. So that is why Nirantarta is important because we might die at some other point where we are having some kind of a worldly thought or something else. That is why Nirantarta is so much emphasized. But yeah, I can understand what you're saying. It's not so easy though. It takes a lot of practice to be able to recite God's name at that point, right? So yeah, it's a good aspiration though. Yeah.
Actually, that reminds of Ajamil's story as well, right? Like keeping your child's name as God's name so that at least you get reminded of Narayan's name at the time of your death.
Nitin sir's actually the thing that he told about driving and chanting just reminded me of one dream that I had, that me, my husband and my child, we were going in a car, and it was in a mountain kind of an area, very narrow, and my husband fell asleep, and this thing just went off cliff. Everything became dark. Me, my husband and my child, we were only there in the car, and I'm telling them all to say Om Namah Shivaya. And no, everybody was chanting that. So, and we were falling and falling and falling. And then I'm thinking why the land is not coming. And I woke up.
Were you disappointed you woke up?
No, I was I was okay. So
Yeah.
yeah, and actually coming to this point that Sri Ramyaji was saying, established in the vow of renunciation. Actually, I really believe renunciation is about leaving your, the vices, six vices, kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsarya. If you are able to renounce all of that, you are naturally established. So it can also mean that. And regarding the caution, till the final stage is reached, the person may falter. I think as long as we have our mind and ego working, we can falter at any point, So the basic end point of anything, even when I'm discussing the Bhagavatam and I'm contemplating on it, what I realize is about if we want to become God realized, and I have come across many people who are saying that they lose their mind in its entirety. They don't function as per their mind, so they are one with the cosmos. So whatever the universe want them to do, they do it, and they don't think about it. It's just in the moment, being in the moment and acting, and that is Jivan Mukt Avastha. So if we still have this, someone saying something to us in our and have a mind continuously chattering, that means we have not reached. And if we have left it, and that's the Gyan Marg actually. When you do a lot of meditation, we reach that stage where the mind is gone and we become Jivan Mukta. And the other stage is where we about how Narada got. He was continuously chanting God's name, and when he lost his body, he merged back into the Mahavishnu, and then next kalpa he was born as an avatar. So and then now he has a permanent body. So these are the two ways, which is the bhakti marg. So yeah, and about Sandhya's question about meditation and japa, the thing that comes in my mind is when we are what is meditation? It is paying attention, as Nitin sir said. It is paying, dhyan dena. Dhyan is, it can be in any way. You can think about God, you can think about the form, you can listen to the words, you can chant anything, but only focusing on that is dhyan. There is nothing separate that and regarding the focusing on breath, very recently, I had realized this. Why are we given like five senses? So anything that our senses are taking in, if we focus on anything, that is dhyan. If we are breathing also, something is getting inside through our nose. We can focus on that. That will increase our dhyan. If we are listening to a song, that will increase our dhyan. So we have these five senses. We can choose any one or all of them. Some people write, Bhagwan's name continuously. So they are engaging multiple senses there. So it is all about focusing. And meditation is just that. You don't have to sit and do for me, if I continuously chant the name, it does not work. I feel I just simply fall asleep. But I can think of God in unlimited manner. While I'm walking and talking, reading, watching. So that is also dhyan, just focusing on any aspect of God, Leela, Naam, anything, but learn to just focus on that aspect. That's it.
Thanks, Pratisha ji. Preeti ji, you had your hand raised and you put it down again. We'll get back to you, but I had one last slide to cover before I give it up. Is it okay if I go ahead?
Yes, sure.
Yeah. Okay. So we have covered this, and this is the last slide. Happy birthday to our dearmost Saki, to Sandhya ji. My screen is visible, right?
Yes, happy birthday, Sandhya.
Okay.
Happy
That's it from
first,
my side.
happy first birthday as Mrs. Sandhya now. Mrs. Sandhya.
Anil, but instead now I can discuss that um, Karma Bai story. Let's do that. But thank you all. And don't embarrass me anymore. Okay, let's do that. Should I start sharing my screen? Thank you,
Preeti
everyone.
ji had a question. Is it okay to take Preeti
Yeah,
ji's?
but
No, go
stop
ahead,
sharing.
Sandhya ji. Go ahead. No problem.
No, but stop sharing this. Preeti ji can ask her question. Thank you. And Preeti ji, you want to say something?
No, I'll wait until you finish. It was not that important.
So what I'm going to cover is a separate topic altogether. So it's the Karma Bai story that I gave like a little bit hint to in the beginning. So let me start sharing the screen. Okay. So this is basically, I mean, it's what I am going to talk. Is there anyone mute? Unmute? Okay. So what I'm going to talk about is story of a devotee. And Bhaktmal is a book which is written by Nabha Das ji, which has story of many inspiring devotees. And one such person is Karma Bai, or formal name is Karmeti Bai. And of course, she has like a very long story. So I just chose like 3 important aspects of her life, which we can learn about. So her father was an ardent devotee of Krishna. And because of that, she was at a very early childhood, she was introduced to Krishna devotion. And so once her father had to go away for some work, and he used to offer bhog prasad to Krishna every day before eating anything. So she was a very small young child, and he very specifically gave her the instruction to offer bhog to Krishna and only after that eat. Now, being an innocent little child, she took her father's instruction very, very seriously. And what was it that she made as bhog was khichdi. So, at a very early stage of her childhood, the first bhog that she offered to Krishna was khichdi. And as we have heard another cute child story, Krishna takes his own sweet time to get pleased and test the devotees. So he did that in her case. He did not come and eat the khichdi in the first go itself. But she, being an innocent child who literally believed in her father's instruction that said that, yes, you need to first offer the food and only after that you can eat, she kept on persisting. And then, of course, I think after 3 days, as per one of the readings I read, that Krishna was impressed by her determination and he showed mercy by appearing and then eating khichdi from her hands. And then when her father returned, she told the story. And of course, the father was like, is that for real? That doesn't happen. And then through her devotion and efforts, she actually made her father also get the darshan of Krishna. So father was an ardent devotee, but he had never seen Krishna. But this innocence and purity that this child carried could benefit the entire family that way as well. So this was one instance about her. And then she was married, and she had a lot of sufferings in her life. After her marriage, her husband passed away. Then she took care of her child. She raised him as a single mother. And then when she had a grandson, then her son also passed away. And then his daughter-in-law also passed away. Then as a grandmother, she was taking care of her grandson. And the name of her grandson was Vishnu, because she was a big lover of Krishna. So she was trying to keep that around her in every possible manner. And and then due to some problem, even that little child also passed away. So she had that way, in terms of material perception, very difficult, tragic life. And once a group of Vaishnavites approached her, and she ended up explaining how her life was very tragic. And that's when those Brahmins, those Vaishnavas, gave her the childhood image of Krishna, and asked her to treat him as your child, and this child is never going to go away from you. And since that day, she became, like, I love this statement. Like, after this, it is safe to say that Karma Bai went divinely crazy. She became divinely crazy in love for Krishna. And as I mentioned, it was love in the form of Vatsalya Bhav. So as a child. And then, of course, she was, so I mean, I think this is all that meditation that Pratushadi was also talking about. Every action that she was doing, or every thought, it was around Krishna. So all the time, she was just meditating upon him. And then, I'm sorry, where are we? Yeah, so this is mainly that every activity that she was doing, it was around Krishna, whom she was treating as her baby. So next and last is another story where, sorry, the screen is, yeah. So one morning, why is this? Yeah. So basically now she has grown old, right? Like we are talking about, she was earlier taking care of her grandson and all that. So So she used to offer bhog to Krishna, but this time she became really slow and the bhog was delayed. And Krishna now wanted to have fun. So and now by now she was in Puri only in Jagannath ji. So Jagannath ji told the priest over there that tell Karma Bai to feed me, I'm very hungry. And if any instruction comes from Jagannath ji, it is taken super seriously. And this would have happened in a dream. So that's when she was approached and she rushed and made the khichdi for Krishna Jagannath ji and offered it. And that's when everybody saw that how that food, the buttermilk and the rice, slowly vanished bit by bit from the plate. So this was a beautiful Leela that Jagannath ji demonstrated to show everyone that what he needs is simply pure love that Karma Bai was demonstrating. And this miracle of Lord's love was a great thing, and it was the inner miracle of overcoming devastating loss. So she spent her remaining years doing good deeds for all the pilgrims. And in Jagannath ji, actually there is this special, like in Jagannath ji's temple. I don't remember. I think I have missed seeing this, but next time I visit, I'll definitely look for this. That there is a deity along with Krishna, and the rasoi, I think, in which food is cooked for Jagannath ji. I think that is also there is a special mention of Karma Bai khichdi and Karma Bai's rasoi. So that's where this devotee has gotten her name imprinted. So yeah, that is what I wanted to talk about. Yeah, I think we are good at time. So difficulties made these devotees' love for Krishna grow further and not stop. And I think we can try to, I mean, I'll try to bring more new devotees every Sunday, and we can like have 5 to 10 minutes discussion learning about this. Yeah.
So moral of the story is that khichdi is a good food, huh?
When eaten as a prasad of Krishna.
Yeah, it's a beautiful story. Thanks for sharing that.
Thanks to Premanand ji. I heard it for the first time from him. And then, the fourth instance that we heard about was that she was concerned that Krishna ate like dinner so early last day. So he must be hungry. So at 3 a.m. in the morning, as soon as she woke up, the first thing she wanted to do was to just make khichdi for him and feed him. Not thinking about whether she has taken bath or not, or, all those um, um, so-called external cleanliness things have been performed or not. She was purely acting from the perspective of love. So yeah, inspiring. Okay. And thank you once again for all your wishes. And I think
Thank
this
you,
is the
Sandhya,
best
for
way.
the lovely story.
Thank
And
you.
it just made the whole thing more devotional. So it's like laddu khane ko mil rahi hai.
So yeah. And yeah, and Nitinji, actually, a heartiest thanks to you for, like, I remember, I think 2 years back, we had a Bhagavad Gita annual anniversary celebrations, and that was also on my birthday. So whenever anything like that happens on my birthday, if we can discuss this, that's the best way birthday can be celebrated. So thank you so much.
Oh, happy birthday once again, Sandhya. And my pleasure to be part of this beautiful discussion that we've been having for such a long time, and now we have it less frequently, but still having it, which is good. So that's good.
Okay, so should we close it? We are on time.
Yep.
So see you all on next Saturday. And then
I would have loved if it would have ended with one kirtan like usual.
Yeah, sure. If anybody wants to.
I'm going to India for a month and I'm gonna miss it because I'll be in a Ayurvedic Ayurved Shala in Kotakal. So I have to follow their schedule. So I'll miss the discussions, but love the way you put the summary together, and that's what I'll follow. But congratulations again, Sandhya, and happy birthday.
Thank you.
Safe travels, Preeti ji. Hope you have a great trip to India. We'll miss you.
Awesome. Okay, so I'll just stop recording.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Radhe
And
Radhe.
thank you so much, Shri Ramya ji, also for doing, and Nitin ji, your presence.
Thank you, Shri Ramya. Yeah,
Thank you all. I mean, I'm so glad that we had a good time for discussions. I deliberately
Shambhai
picked.
has been saying something, but we're not able to hear him.
Oh, but you can unmute yourself. Yeah. Shyamji, we always love to hear you.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
It's a good way to tease me and provoke me. Thank you so much. Good to
We
see you
like
all.
your new look, Shyamji.
I'm trying some different. I don't
We
see
like
people
your
care
we
much.
like
So,
your new look. I saw a hero in one of the web series. You remind me of that. Okay, so
oh my goodness. Thank you so much. Good to see you all. It's been
all right.
really blessed feeling to be here, part of this group. And as we all discussed that this has to go on, time immemorial, so it should go on. कोई रहे ना रहे, Gita should be there for us for every time.
Yep.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Awesome.
Radhe Radhe then.
Radhe Radhe. Good night.
Radhe Radhe.
Very
Thank you
good
so
day.
much.